Politics, cultural exchange, social life and ecological issues. These are only few areas where international organizations implement their projects. They cooperate with public and private partners, and preserving peace for future generation is their principal goal. How do they arrange their work? What role is given to Kazakhstani initiatives? You'll find more on this in Kazakhstan International Vectors. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is a member organization. It is also the world's largest humanitarian association. We have a lot of programs which are focused on labor migrants, refugees and socially vulnerable groups of people. Floods in China in 1931, abnormal torrential rains caused the concurrent overflow of three main rivers, Yangtze, Huanghe and Huaihe. All the dams were destroyed. More than 300,000 square meters of lands, which are equal to the common area of Austria, Bulgaria and Hungary, were underwater. According to different estimations, the number of victims has reached 4 million people. Another 40 million were left homeless. Mitch was called by the meteorologists the most destructive hurricane of the 20th century. A strongest wind rushed upon Central America at a speed of 250 km per hour and left 2.5 million people without roof above their heads. Lack of drinking water, food products and medicines provoked the outbreak of infectious diseases. The whole world has sent humanitarian aid to the disaster area. In 1897, residents of the Indian state of Assam had to save themselves during one whole week from a series of tremendous earthquakes. Entire villages have sunk into enormous ground splits, dams were destroyed, and people in desperation climbed the treetops. The disaster has led to 1,500 victims. Natural disasters, outbreaks of infectious diseases, depletion of food and water resources. According to international statistics, every day 60 million people in 20 countries worldwide get in need of humanitarian aid. International organizations are developing volunteer movements and associations helping those people. Volunteers defend rights and freedoms of people, assist vulnerable groups of population and promote healthy lifestyle among people globally. The number of volunteers is increasing from day to day, along with their workload. Why such people are constantly in demand, and what kind of work does unite them with international organizations? In 90 countries of the world. For instance, only in the Great Britain, almost 1/4 of population has become their activists. Local mass media also make their contribution towards volunteer activity popularization. In total, there are about 160,000 of charity organizations all over the country, specialists say. More than a quarter of European volunteers collects funds for social needs or does fundraising. Another 23% prepare and distribute food. 19% more provide assistance in education. In Kazakhstan, this type of activity is also becoming popular. The number of kind-hearted people here is growing. As a rule, they participate in numerous clothes collection campaigns. This way of voluntary assistance is most common in the country, says volunteer Madina Jumatayeva. This is a free market. People can come here and bring anything they do not need but which can be useful for others. We stand at the entry and count things brought by every person. After that, we give a tag which allows a person to take the same quantity of things brought here by other people. The Kazakhstani Society Volunteer.kz organizes events like this several times a year. As usual, after such campaigns, the majority of things remain untaken, so they are being distributed among poor families whenever needed. We hope that thousands of people in future will become volunteers. Many people do not understand that volunteers really get a lot. Put simply, instead of money, we get a new experience, emotions, friends, links, imaginations, adventures and so on. In many countries, only a small part of people in need get voluntary assistance, say volunteers themselves. Globally, international associations are involved in defending of human dignity and well-being. One of such organizations is the Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is the largest humanitarian association. It was created in 1863 in Geneva, Switzerland, and includes 189 national societies. The Federation is a very large family called the Movement of Red Cross and Red Crescent. It consists of three principal elements: the International Committee of the Red Cross, our national societies of the Red Cross and Red Crescent in different parts of the globe, and the International Federation itself. Nowadays, the army of the association's volunteers throughout the world exceeds 97 million, and the representatives of the organization note that volunteers are specialists with a wide range of knowledge. They are able to render the first medical aid, they can also give psychological support and consult on behavior during emergency situations. In this case, we are talking about how to react during emergency situations, natural or man-made disasters, and how to prevent tuberculosis, HIV, and other diseases. The Red Cross and Red Crescent both help victims of natural disasters. Specialists have calculated that such catastrophes affect about 70,000 people annually. Thanks to the organization's work, the victims are supplied with special humanitarian parcels consisting of essential food products. Temporary housing is being organized for those who have lost their homes. It includes preparation to emergency situations and reaction to earthquakes and floods. Some of our basic non-product parcels consisted of blankets, bedclothes, kitchenware, hygienic kits and everything necessary for people who have lost their homes. Victims of natural disasters are not the only category of people who get humanitarian aid from the organization. Vulnerable groups of population are also at the scope. For example, in 2014 the winter was very cold, especially in northern and central parts of Kazakhstan. That is why the funds which were allocated via the International Federation to the Red Crescent Society of Kazakhstan were used for preparation of hot food for people in need during 3 months. Each country has its own national associations of Red Cross and Red Crescent. The International Federation of both societies uses them as links in its work in these states. There is a bright example of work of the Red Cross Society. When a disaster happened in Japan, the entire world, including our country, raised funds in order to help the Japanese Red Cross. Nevertheless, it took some time to create a well-functioning system, representatives of the organization say. One of the world's major associations has been developing during several centuries. The year 1859, Italy. Entrepreneur Henri Dunant became a witness of a terrible battle at Solferino, which took lives of 6,000 people. Another 42,000 were wounded. Shocked by the scales of this bloodshed, Dunant appealed to residents of nearest villages to help the injured people independently on their military belonging. He was so impressed that later he wrote a book, A Memory of Solferino, and became the founder of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Initially, the organization's staff consisted of 5 people, and only some years later it raised interest of the international community. Contributions of separate people into the association's history were really significant. British charity nurse Florence Nightingale is one of them. During the Crimean War, along with her 38 assistants, she helped the injured fighters at the battlefield. Such activity reduced the death rate among the soldiers from 42 to 2%. Shortly afterwards, she established the world's first school of nursing and midwifery in London. Other countries also followed her example by founding their own nursery schools. The International Federation of Red Cross awards activists with the Florence Nightingale Medal on the regular basis. Nowadays, labor migrants have become a matter of special attention of the organization. Their number throughout the world exceeds 100 million. At that, the majority of them are illegal, specialists conclude. It results in budgetary losses of different countries and many ethnic conflicts. Because of that, since 2008, the Federation has been involved in organizing a number of events focused on solving this problem. 23 special centers were established in Central Asia. By now, 40,000 people have already become their graduates. We belong to immigrant-sending countries, and these centers prepare and educate such people on different topics, such as how to cross borders and fill in the necessary documents in the right way. The illegal labor migration can trigger one more problem, experts say. The absence of necessary documents prevents such workers from receiving medical assistance. It creates the risk of spread of various diseases. Therefore, the tasks of the Red Crescent include the prevention of such diseases as tuberculosis and HIV. Usually, patronage nurses working in this organization help people with such illnesses. Our nurses visit patients with resistant tuberculosis at home and provide them with medicines. It is a very small group, but all they have very serious psychological problems, because treating tuberculosis takes a lot of time. The association also involves HIV-affected people to become its volunteers. A special assistance program peer-to-peer has been developed for such patients, and such approach has already shown its results. They cite examples from their own experience in a daily manner in order to make the life of other patients better and encourage them to live, work and continue treatment. Along with that, the organization specializes in the attraction of blood donors. According to the information of WHO, on average, more than 100 million of blood donations are being taken annually all over the world. However, some countries continue suffering from acute donor blood deficit. According to the WHO requirements, there should be 40 to 60 donors per 1,000 persons. In Kazakhstan, there are 18 donors per 1,000 citizens. Therefore, we have some deficiency, and we understood how necessary it is to promote donorship. We assumed this initiative in 2014 and gained good results. By now, more than 300 people became donors. Teaching people to render first medical assistance is now one of the principal objectives of the Red Crescent. It is a well-known fact that in the majority of cases, the accident victims die due to incompetence of witnesses. We will continue opening training centers in all regions of Kazakhstan. Almost all of our 20 branch offices have first aid training centers. Studies there are absolutely free. Since 2012, we taught these skills 53,000 school children within the framework of the project Almaty Without Accidents. The organization closely cooperates with its public partners. Thus, the emergency response activities are to be carried out in Central Asian countries before the year end. It is planned to teach about 74,000 people. We mainly work with schools. Our studies are absolutely free for public organizations because we, as a supporting entity, have to educate people. We cannot teach every person due to lack of well-prepared staff. Nevertheless, we strive for that, and these are our plans for the future. It often happens so that the organization workers have to assist victims of military conflicts. The principal problem here is difficulties with customs processing, the representatives of Red Crescent say, and even a 1-hour delay can cost many human lives. Humanitarian cargoes containing necessary aid should pass through customs procedures and be delivered to regions under the threat as soon as possible. Along with ordinary volunteers, famous people are also involved in charitable work. Some of them even create their own funds. Among such people is brilliant computer programmer Bill Gates and his wife. They have been allocating 9-digit sums for the battle against hunger and on the improvement of public health and education systems all over the globe. In total, the Gates family has already allotted more than $30 billion for these purposes.